Are you ready?
Nobody can identify me.
Call the meeting to order. Can we have, before we do roll call, Mr. Bates would like to take a word.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. I asked for a moment tonight. This is the first meeting that we've had since the passing of Walter Arnett. Walter was a longtime member of this board, as well as being a four-term alderman for the city of Pacific. He was very, very dedicated to his family and to his city and his community. He was a true gentleman, and he had the rare quality that you could absolutely disagree with his point, and you could get into a pretty intense argument with him politically, and I served on both boards with him. And when the argument was over, it was over. You were still friends. He might jab you a little bit and say, hey, even though you're wrong, I still like you. But that's a rare, rare quality these days, and unfortunately, we lost a really, really good guy and a special person. And I wanted to say that Walter was loved and we'll miss him. And thank you.
Thank you. The other announcement tonight is I'd like to keep our thoughts with Gary Kelling and his family. His father passed away this morning, so he will not be here tonight. So that is the reason that he is missing from the board tonight. Not all the arrangements are done yet, so I don't have any more real information than that. So just keep him in our thoughts.
Tim, somebody lower the curtains.
Yeah, I think the sun's an issue and for the
Yeah.
audience. Yep.
Yeah, let's do that.
Wrong one.
There you go.
You got it there.
Thanks, Steve. Maybe put it down just a little bit, because it looks like they're on that first row. If anybody would come in.
Wrong one.
Wrong
Wrong
one.
one.
We need to number these somehow. There you go.
There we are.
Thank you.
There you go, Steve.
That's good.
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Flannery,
Present.
Commissioner Miles,
Here.
Commissioner Bates,
Here.
Chairman Bruns,
Here.
Commissioner Mercado,
Here.
Commissioner Madrigal,
Here.
Alderman Eversmeyer,
Here.
Commissioner Graham.
Here.
Approval of the minutes from the May 10th, 2022 meeting.
I make a motion to accept the,
Motion by Ms. Picado,
I second it.
second by Mr. Miles. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearings, was this posted?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
yes, sir.
P and Z 2022-5, Lot 130, 3rd Street, conditional use permit, Gullet Contracting is the applicant. Public hearing to consider an application for a conditional use permit at Lot 130 of South 3rd Street, Pacific, Missouri 63069. Franklin County parcel number 19-1-12.0-4-003-081.100. The applicant is proposing to construct a 30-foot by 40-foot building as a location to operate a snow removal business from. Such use would include office space and equipment storage. The property is currently zoned C1 Downtown Commercial District. Under Section 400.120 of the Pacific's Municipal Code, such use would be provided only for approval with a conditional use permit, and Gullet Contracting was the applicant. Could we have the report on this, please?
Yes, ma'am. So I know that this report was already in your packet, so I won't read it word for word. I will say that the subject site is located in the downtown area near the northwest corner of West Orleans and South 3rd Street. It's a vacant parcel that is bounded by a similar vacant parcel to the north owned by Union Pacific Railroad, the Pacific commuter lot to the east, residential uses to the south, and a light industrial use to the west, which is Dean's Auto Cleaning. I know you're all very familiar with that. The C1 Downtown Commercial District is intended for retail sales, banking facilities, office space, personal services, and government facilities mainly. The proposed use is deemed appropriate by both the zoning officer and the city administrator, but requires CUP approval by P&Z and the Board of Aldermen. This use may be authorized by the Board of Aldermen by conditional use permit as provided in Section 405.040 of Chapter 405, Planning and Zoning in the City of Pacific's Municipal Code. The subject parcel is considered non-conforming lot of record, and a conforming structure with permitted use may be built on lots of record that were made non-conforming with the adoption of the municipal code as to the dimensions or the area, provided, however, that such structure shall conform to all setbacks and all other regulations of this chapter which do not relate to area or dimensions of the lot. Bulk regulations under C1 require a minimum lot area of 7,500 feet. This lot is approximately 4,900 square feet, according to my calculations. Also, the minimum lot width is 100 feet. The front of this lot is only 50 feet. All other setbacks and the maximum lot coverage requirements would be met according to the site plan presented with this application. Parking requirements for a commercial office is 1,000 feet of gross floor area. So if Mr. Gullett were to pave the entire apron area in the 25-foot setback, the parking area would only be 750 feet. So a waiver of this rule would be required. For office facilities also, it should be considered that an ADA-compliant restroom and heat would also be required. At this specific location, the question is asked, will it contribute to and promote the community welfare or convenience? Given the fact the property is presently vacant, this improvement will increase the property value and will elevate its usefulness. To the reviewer's knowledge, there were no complaints filed with the city regarding this use officially. 2 phone calls from concerned citizens came into this office. The first requested an explanation of use. Once clarified, the caller was not opposed to the development. The second was adamantly opposed. Will it cause any injury to the value of the neighboring property and not create a nuisance? The only concern may be the use of on-street parking, as outside parking spaces are very limited. Is it consistent with the comprehensive plan and existing zoning district provisions? The comprehensive plan asks that we promote and support existing commercial and industrial businesses, local entrepreneurial, and startups. It continues by referring to economic gardening. We're focused on embracing the fundamental idea that entrepreneurs drive economies is emphasized. This model seems to create jobs by supporting existing companies in our community. Will it provide, if applicable, on-street parking and loading areas? Well, the parking is a challenge. There is limited off-street parking available at this site. The lot is only large enough to accommodate the proposed building and 750 square feet of apron area in the front elevation. This, of course, is not unusual for the downtown area. It's accommodated in the zoning code. Given the nature of this business, there's likely little need for exterior parking. However, it's recommended that consideration be given to a requirement for the addition of designated hard surface parking spaces either in front of or to the rear of the building. Bulk regulations call for this building and parking lot not to exceed 80% of the total lot coverage. The subject property is approximately 4,900 square feet. The proposed building is 1,200 square feet, leaving 3,700 square feet, which 2,720 square feet remains available for paved parking surface that would meet the 80% total lot coverage. Staff recommends that this applicant would be allowed to occupy the building and conduct business, provided that the street is not used for business parking. So will it provide erosion control? Due to the small size of the lot and proposed building, the minimal stormwater runoff is expected. However, proper gutter and downspout application would be required. Will it substantially increase traffic noise and congestion? Use of this building for light commercial purposes will have limited impact. Our recommendation is that this property is located in the middle of downtown mixed-use district with residential, industrial, and commercial uses all in around this proximity. The proposed snow removal business use is unlike other nearby light industrial uses in that it is seasonal. It's in my opinion that the proposed use would not deter from the other uses in this district. Snow removal business use, in our judgment, presents no conflict with surrounding district and offers an opportunity for job growth in our community. Finally, as with any CUP application, We would advise the commission to receive a thorough description of the proposed use from the applicant, as well as any comments made at the public hearing, before proceeding with a final recommendation to the board.
Is the applicant here? No applicant. Well, I have some issues with this. If this is a snow removal business, it could be any hours of the day and night, and you've got 2 residences directly to the south of it. This is a very small lot, and I don't think there's adequate storage there if he's going to do a snow removal business and an office. And he can't do the paving for the parking. He wants leeway from that. That's my opinion, and I'm going to open it to the board for more discussion.
Can I interrupt for a moment? I'm sorry. I think we should conduct a public hearing first before we have comments from the commission, if you would.
Okay.
We may have people that want to speak.
I do have one speaker card. Melissa Lawton, would you come up to the microphone and name and address?
Loud enough?
Yeah.
I'm Melissa Lawton. I'm at 214 South 3rd Street, the lot right next to this. I do have a few concerns with it myself. I have been here at that house for precisely a little over 9 years. I'm all for businesses. I'm all for creating jobs. I want Pacific to grow, don't get me wrong. I agree with some of the stuff in there, other things I don't. Obviously, the space is not big enough in your own code to present another business. And also, sorry, I hate speaking in front of people. But also, there are families present. We have probably 10, 12 children between your little group of houses right there. We just got a business put in, which I have nothing against the Dean business, but that's also creating a lot of traffic. I personally think that it will cause injury or decrease the value of my home, because I've been trying to upkeep my home, add things to it, and make it great so I can sell it. But if I have a storage facility, which we all know that's what will happen, I've even sent pictures with my emails I've sent everyone today of the past several years, how that place has been kept. The grass and everything has come 4 or 5 feet tall. I usually try to let things go. I did finally, over time, make a complaint because nothing was getting done. There has been a cargo container, boulders, you name it. So the storage facility, the stuff will not more than likely be inside this building, so to say. It'll be out on the property. And it is a very small little piece of land right on the backside of the commuter lot where several people travel, visitors come and go. You have the car show right there every year. So my biggest complaint is I really just don't want it to turn into another storage dump, so to say. And also for the safety of, our children and our families out there playing, because there is no sidewalks or anything, so sometimes we have to go into the road. But like I said, I'm sorry, I'm not one to really like to complain, but I do see several issues with this happening.
Okay.
That's about
Okay.
all I really have to say.
We'll take that into consideration.
Awesome, thank you.
This is the only speaker card I have on this hearing. Is there anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to speak.
Okay, you can get up and speak, but I'll need you to fill out a speaker card before you leave.
Concerns.
And you are? And I need your name and address.
I'm the owner of the lot, Ray Gullett. So basically, she is correct. The grass has gotten out of hand a couple times. I've taken care of it. When they call me, I just forget. I have a lot going on. The building that I want to build is 30 by 40, and the lot is 50 by 70. Is that right?
You got about 4,900 square feet.
I believe it's 50 by 70. So the building is going to take up a lot of the lot, basically. There's not going to be anything outside. Everything will be inside. The building is going to house snowplows and salt spreaders for my snow removal company, and that's what I'm building it for. So everything will be inside, it'll all fit inside. There won't be any room for anything outside. So that's what I just wanted to say. That's it.
Okay.
All right?
I'm going to ask you a question
Yeah,
while
for
you're
sure.
up here. If this is snow removal business
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to store this stuff in the building, what happens when we have snow overnight and you're having to get equipment out of there?
I'll have to go down there and get it out at some point, but typically we get it out the day before because we don't, I mean, I have like 6 or 7 plow trucks and they each one have plows and spreaders, and every time we put something on, out of the 6 or 7, 4 or 5 work and the other 2 or 3 don't. So we have to work on them. So we don't do that at 2 o'clock in the morning.
And you think you've got plenty of room there to do?
No, I mean,
do
I
that?
have a shop right up on the other side of town. There won't be any work going on there. It'll just be completely for the snow plows to be put in there. And we'll pull our trucks in, hook them up, pull them out, and go to the shop. So, yeah, we have all our tools and all this stuff up in our shop. And this is the main reason I want to build that, because right now my shop is 40 by 60, and it's full. I can't get anything in there because I've got these plows and salt spreaders in there and you know, other things. So I just need more room. So rather than just sit them in the ground down there, you know, exposed to the elements, I don't know if you know anything about snow removal, but, you know, it's really hard on stuff. So what we do every year is we clean them the best we can, and then we try to keep them inside, because if we put them outside, they just corrode really bad. So that's why I need the facility to put the stuff inside. And there won't be windows on the building. There'll be a garage door on the front and a man door, and that's it. So you won't even be able to see anything. I mean, it'll be a nice looking building. So.
I just want to mention the office element to this.
So in the very front of it, what my intentions are in the front, to build a small office to keep paperwork for the actual snow removal company, because it's getting, you know, my other business is totally different. So I'm trying to keep them separate, and it's hard to do whenever you have it in one building. You know what I mean? So
So will there be someone working out of that building?
sometimes, yes, like in the office part.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, the office
yeah.
part.
Yes. Yeah, it's not a full-time position though, because obviously in the, you know, middle of the summer, we don't have that much to do with snow removal.
So this is strictly snow removal?
Yeah, basically, I just need somewhere for my snow removal company to house their plows and salt spreaders, keep all the paperwork, and then work on paperwork, bids, et cetera. Like right now, we're starting to get emails on this season's snow removal. So I would say from today on, you know, there might be people in there periodically working on things, but not full-time.
Okay, I have another question.
Okay.
The salt spreader, it's just that piece of equipment that sits inside the truck, correct?
Yes.
It's not the truck
No, the
itself
truck's
going
the-
to be stored down there?
Right, no, the trucks are all part of my company, and they get drove every day.
Where will the salt be stored?
I have another place with a salt bin.
It won't be stored down here?
No, I have multiple places. Like, I have one here in town, and then I have 3 or 4 in the city. We rent places for salt, because a lot of our snow removal is in St. Charles, and it's just too costly to drive all the way back to Pacific to load salt at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we build bins on a lot of our locations that we actually do snow removal. So like, for instance, we do Sam's Wholesale. We do several of those, and a couple of those actually have bins in the back corner. And we have a Bobcat there already doing the snow removal, so we load our salt there. So that's usually the way it works. I mean, I do have a bin in Pacific as well, but that's at a different location.
I'm just trying to get everybody to understand what is going to be in that building.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
really, in
not-
all honesty, to address her concerns, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, because the lot has kind of been, you know, neglected, to say the least. But it's going to be better with this building on it than it was prior to, because it's going to be all enclosed. There's not going to, and literally, there's not going to be anywhere to put anything. There's, like, the building's 30 foot wide, the lot's 50 foot wide. So you're talking about 10 foot on each side, you know what I mean? There's just no room to put anything.
No, there's
So
not.
there's not going to be any room left, so it's all going to be enclosed, you know? And like I said, there won't be, I'm not going to swear there won't be somebody there in the middle of the night at one point or another picking up something, because that's just how that business works. But, I mean, it's not going to be like every snow we're down there at 2 o'clock in the morning hooking up plows. We don't ever do that. I mean, I have so much stuff. I mean, it takes me a full day to get ready to do snow removal the day before the actual snow. I mean, literally, it takes a full day. It's an all-day ordeal, so, and then it doesn't snow and I lose my ass. So, pardon my French. So it happens, but no, I mean, for real, it's just, there's not gonna be a lot of traffic there, so.
Steve, if they're going to put some kind of an office in there, won't they have to have a restroom in there as well?
Well, see, that's the one thing that would allow this building to be built and not be considered an accessory building. Accessory buildings on just standalone by themselves are not allowed. So the office component is very important. So you're looking at not only having an office area for paper, but you're looking at having a restroom facility and heat in that building.
Well, I'm gonna
For
have
your
heat,
staff.
for sure. It's gonna be heat and air conditioned as well. I mean, the whole building. It's just, we try to keep the humidity lower because the salt on the stuff just destroys it otherwise, the humidity in the air. But I had not planned on putting a bathroom in there. That I had not planned on doing. I mean, if that's a deal breaker, I'll go ahead and do it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me one way or another. I mean, it's
Well,
just-
in order for it to be qualified as an office, I believe it would
Yeah.
have to be there.
yeah. Well, whatever you tell me I gotta do, I'll do it, so.
That and fencing too, separating the residential and the commercial properties required in our zoning.
And then the next question I have is how high are you going to build this up for water drainage onto adjoining properties?
It won't be built up at all. It's flat,
Okay,
it's
you
a
won't
flat
be,
lot.
you don't intend on building it up.
No,
so
it's
that-
all level. It's all,
Would be drained off onto the adjoining property owners?
no, I mean, the floor of the garage would be probably, just a guess here, 10 to 12 inches higher than the existing dirt that's there now. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty level. It lays out pretty good as far as, it doesn't need any raising. And the flood, it's not part of the floodplain, is it? It just barely touches the edge of
Barely
it?
on the fringe, but not in the
Yeah.
concerned area.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I just don't want water drained off onto the adjoining property owners. We seem to have that problem on numerous projects, and it's got to come to an end at some point. So that's a concern because you've got a house right there in close quarters.
It's not going to be an issue. It won't be an issue.
Well, that's,
No.
yeah, but I
agree with you. I
I
agree.
just want it in the records that there's been discussion, so that if there does become a problem, there
We can
can
address
be
it.
something done.
Right.
Mr. Bates?
Ray, are you going to be washing any of the equipment there after it's used?
No, we take it to the Beacon. Bill, I do all his snow removal, and he gives me several $100s a year in free snow or car washes for snow removal. So all my trucks go to the Beacon, get washed, and then go down there and would be unloaded. And my ideal situation is to be able to pull in there with a plow, unhook it, not a big deal. The salt spreaders do require like a skid steer to unload them, but ideally what I want to do is have like a chain fall in there to back under, pick them up with a chain fall, and then set them on the floor and wheel them around on dollies, because I don't want to have to move a Bobcat down there every time I got to unload a salt spreader, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, so it's really just going to be a garage that you can't even see. I mean, it's not, you're not going to see inside of it. You're not going to have anything around it. There's nothing to put around it, so.
Anybody else on the board here?
No, the lady has.
I'm going to get that in just a minute. Steve?
Madam Chair, the only thing I'd like to confirm, and I know you said it, I just want to make sure, the only ingress and egress to the building is going to be on the Third Street side. You're not putting a shop door on the north side to bring
No.
things in, so everything's going to come in there.
Yes, one door on the front. I haven't decided whether I want to do 2 garage doors or one, probably just one 16-foot garage door, I'm thinking, maybe 18-foot, and a man door, just so I don't have to open the garage door every time I want to go in. You know what I mean? That's it. No windows. I don't want any windows. I don't want somebody to be able to knock one of them out and climb in there or look in there, you know what I mean? So, that's it.
And then the other question I have more for somebody who's a duty expert on this, having heard, having sat in multiple board meetings and listened to different applicants, does this require, and I don't want to create any more work for you, Ray, but I mean, would this require putting some kind of green barrier between the residential and the
Well, it would
proposed
either.
property? I mean, I know some projects have. I don't.
Barrier or a fence of
Okay.
some kind.
Okay.
To
So it's an-
buffer it from the adjoining property.
It's an either or, not a
No, I
None of
think it's,
both.
the fence is required.
Yeah.
So like a
Between
privacy fence, a wood privacy fence or something?
Yeah.
Something like
Would
that,
it-
yes.
would it just
Between
be
res- when a commercial building goes next to a residential building and is being built as commercial.
Yeah.
Then fencing is required.
Yeah, that's no problem. So like a, be on the south side, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. I'll do that.
And is it just, again, I know Alderman Eversmeyer has these more memorized than I do, but would it only be between the commercial and the residential? Or would it also be between the commercial and the commuter lot as well?
No, just on the, I'll give you a prime example, is the storage unit over there on First Street. We made them put up a barrier between that and
Right.
the other house. You probably remember there was
I
a
do
sign
remember.
up there for
Yeah, I remember
for
that.
about a couple of years. Because
my
we
neighbor.
made them put that
And you're
fence
talking
up.
you're talking about peanuts. It's not that big a deal to put
Right,
up a
it's
nice
not that-
privacy fence,
Right,
you know
just
what
a
I mean?
privacy, just a
Yeah.
fence separating the two.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for those, clarifying those questions.
Does that take care of everything?
That takes care of
Okay.
everything I had.
Steve, if they're gonna put an office in there, would they not have to have some kind of a window in there for daylight?
We can look into it. I don't have that
I mean,
requirement
I would
in
think
front
that
of me.
would be a code thing there, just to have some daylight in an office space.
We'll look into it.
Okay, all right. Ray, I think I can let you sit down.
Okay.
And then you had another question, Melissa?
My other concern is, because I have been reading over the codes the past several days, there seems to be like no plan drawn up of this building and what it's gonna look like, and,
Not at this point.
Right,
Okay, this
but-
is conditional use permit.
right, this is what I'm getting. But then now you're speaking of a fence and whatnot, and I don't know, I'm just trying to follow along. But the building itself, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been over there, is already going to like obstruct view from the people coming down the commuter lot. So I don't know if you could just put that into consideration, because now we're talking about a fence and already a building that's gonna take up the majority of the lot. But I just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay. It would have to be built to code, okay?
Right.
As far as the site, that might be another thing that we need to take a look at
Well, we will in the process. It'll be a site.
whenever you
plan
get to that point.
evaluation, right.
So that will be down the road a little
Tonight,
bit, okay?
tonight they just determine whether the use is acceptable.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions, or Mr. Miguel?
Question for Steve. Verifying here on the application that the lot would not accommodate a home, correct? Seems
That-
like only some type of industrial,
Correct,
okay. So this is pretty much the only game in town,
correct.
okay.
You know where this is at, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I
Right
just-
there. against the road.
I just want to make sure you knew where it was at, okay? Okay. Anyone else? There being no other questions or comments, a public hearing is now closed. Was the next one posted?
Yes, it was.
P and Z 2022-6, Alt Place, rezoning application, Dan Conway is the applicant. A public hearing to consider an application for rezoning 8.002 acres owned by Barbara A. Alt, Section 14, Township 43, Range 2E, known as Lot 1, Alt Place, PT SESEN, of the Industrial Drive in Pacific, Missouri. Franklin County parcel number 19-6-14.0-034-036.200, and the 40 acres owned by Barbara Alt, John Timothy Alt, Diana Kathleen, and Philip Bradley Alt, known as Log Northeast South, or Northwest Southeast, Section 14, Township 43, Range 2E, Pacific, Missouri. Franklin County parcel ID number 19-6-14.0-099-035.100. The applicant is requesting rezoning of both parcels to M1 Light Industrial. The property is currently zoned NU Non-Urban District. Could we have the report on this, please?
Yes, ma'am. Before we get into it, I want to just call your attention to two typographical errors.
Okay?
One on the bottom of the front page of the staff report, and that's just where we got it reversed. as far as the description where it says that the 8-acre parcel is owned by Ms. Alt and her 3 children. It's actually the 40-acre parcel, like, as you read in the public hearing.
All right,
That is listed correctly.
okay.
So just want to make that clarification. And also, one more, there is residential property that is to the immediate west of the 40-acre parcel. And in the map, it shows that all of those properties, which I think there are 5, are R1B zoning. There was on May the 7th, a unanimous decision on the part of this council to allow for the Meadows property. Mr. Meadows is here this evening. That was rezoned to NU. Just want to make that clarification. And it's not shown that way on the map.
And
All right,
where-
thank
where-
you.
Where is that at?
It's, well, it's that R1B yellow area that is just to the west of the 40 acres. That actually is divided into 5 properties, and it's the northernmost property is Meadows. That's NU.
Okay.
So thank you. Again, you had this in your packet, so I won't read it word for word. The applicant is proposing a general office, light manufacturing warehouse, other limited industrial uses. That is what the M1 light industrial is classified as. So these uses typically generate a minimum of noise, glare, odor, dust, vibration, and air, water, pollutants, any kind of fire, explosive, radioactive, and other hazards, and harmful or obnoxious matter. That's how it's listed in the zoning. The applicant stated that what he's most interested in is office and warehouse buildings with outside storage that fits the M1 industrial. Typical user might be a plumbing supply house with outside storage. They feel this development will have minimal impact to the surrounding properties, and they intend to leave a 30 to 40-foot existing forestation along the north and west property lines. The southern side of the lot is, or the site is M1, M2 industrial, and also to the east is existing farmland, which most likely will become future industrial use as well someday down the road. There are actually 2 properties included in this request, as you know, the 40-acre and the 8-acre. There is an easement that, so these 2 properties merge at a point. So they come together at this point, and there's a 50-foot wide easement for a road access at what would be the northwest corner of the 8-acre parcel and the southeast corner of the 40. So they do connect as far as a roadway easement goes. The land and surrounding properties, you'll see R1B to the north, M1, M2 to the south. The east is NU, and the west is R1B, with the exception of the Meadows property, which is NU also. Our recommendation is that the future land use map adopted with the City of Pacific's comprehensive plan in 2017 identifies industrial zoning for the future land use of this subject property, as well as the surrounding farm properties as the highest and best use. Discussion in the comprehensive plan regarding future land use states that the future land use recommendations were developed based on current land use practices, that latest development trends and the comments obtained during the public engagement processes that took place prior to their approval. The future land use recommendations consider the compatibility of land uses and various development scenarios and promote land use decisions that help achieve the community's vision, to promote and support the momentum generated by local businesses and facilitate positive economic growth by increasing the confidence to invest in improving and expanding Pacific's neighborhoods, parks, commercial districts, and industrial parks. The comprehensive plan goes on to state that areas designated as industrial are intended for environmentally clean manufacturing and industrial operations, including warehousing, transportation, and distribution-related uses. This reviewer has discussed this proposal to bring industrial development and higher-paying jobs that such development typically brings with the applicant and the property owner, has visited the proposed site, and fielded a total of 2 phone calls from concerned property owners. All these conversations resulted in a very positive discussion that provided support for the responsible development of this property for light industrial use. The concerns expressed included stormwater runoff, which may be professionally engineered and approved by the city. That's something that will be taken into account with the site plan approval process. It should be noted for clarity that M1 light industrial zoning allows for this industrial manufacturing and repair shops where the scale of operations in the process of manufacturing or treatment of materials is such that the amount of dust, odor, gas, smoke, or noise resulting therefrom will not result in a lowering of values and otherwise will not be objectionable to surrounding community, industry, or institutional and residential districts. Furthermore, the M1 zoning, the construction standard is provided in section 400.235. Those areas used for loading docks, parking of commercial vehicles, or storage of materials, equipment, or products in these districts may be constructed of a rollstone base and surfaced with gravel or other crushed stone. Notwithstanding the above, gravel surfaces areas as herein provided shall be limited to only those areas located behind the front of the building line and the building's location on the subject property. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. That stormwater pollution prevention plan will be taken into consideration with the site development, and a larger portion of the existing buffer between the residentially zoned areas to the north and west would remain and be improved upon to increase separation between the neighborhood and the proposed light industrial development. The M1 zoning proposed for both subject tracts, in our judgment, best fits the character of the surrounding district and is in harmony with the future land use map. We would respectfully request approval.
Is the applicant here? Would you like to come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and anything that you would like to add in addition to what was stated?
Hi, my name is Dan Conway, and I'm president and owner of Conway Contracting. I'm here along with actually the owners, potential owners or buyers of the piece of property. My address is 3001 Spruce Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63103.
Okay, all right. Would you like to add anything to any of the presentation that has been given by the staff report?
Yeah, you really got kind of a unique opportunity here. You've got, the city of Pacific, your combination, and, you want a place to live, a place for people to work, and a place to play. And, you've got an opportunity with this light industrial area that's already there that we're just adding on to. And there's already light industrial or heavy industrial on both sides of it. And, and we've been good stewards to meet with the city of Pacific. We want to make sure, we keep, the 30, 40-foot forestation line buffer between residential and what we're looking to do. And we're not, thinking about having stormwater runoff designed. We're going to have it designed. So, we're good stewards. We've been doing this for a very long time, and and we want to get an opportunity to do this and then maybe add on to it. And I just think it's a great opportunity for the city of Pacific. And if there's any concerns, we'd like to take them into effect and into account and see if we can work things out here.
Okay. Any members of the board have any questions for the applicant?
My biggest concern would be just maintaining that buffer between the north and west side, obviously.
Yeah. The lots, the zoning right now, I think we can get 85% lot coverage. And so, if we're doing 3 to 6 acre lots, you use, 30 to 40 feet, we're well within our range of, 15% of green space. And so, especially if we can allow to throw it just on the back, we'll try to, do what we can and, increase the buffer. If we don't have to do all the landscaping up front, we can even increase the buffer depending on how we work it out. But, we're very sensitive of it, and there already is a really nice, buffer there. In the corner, we're going to have to take some out because there's a little bit of a kind of a force that kind of comes out. But we want to keep that whole buffer that's along really the north side and on the west side. Right.
So you're not planning on disturbing too much of the ground as far as contours and grading and
not
that
in
kind of stuff?
in the buffer. I mean, what we're trying to do is leave that 30 to 40 foot buffer. You've already got some nice tree stand there, nice, green, no reason to do that now. As soon as we get away from it, we may be grading 3 to 1 or something like that away from it. But the goal is to leave that 30 to 40-foot buffer on the north side and on the west side.
Okay. Is there any thing that you are considering a second means of like an emergency egress from this piece of property?
Well-
You're kind of landlocked right now.
We are, we've kicked around, there's the light industrial that's on kind of the northeast side. Right now we are, the goal is, depending on how maybe future acquisitions, play out, we can actually run a road out to Denton maybe and have one at Industrial Drive. Right now, the part that we've got, I think the one drive is fine.
Yeah, but I mean, if there would ever be a fire or a catastrophe and you've got people to the back of that industrial park, how are they going to get out?
We'd come right out the drive that goes to Industrial Drive right now.
If it's blocked, though, if you would have a catastrophe.
Right.
That's my only concern.
Absolutely is I think for the size development right now, one mean of ingress and egress is adequate.
Okay.
I think our goal would be if we could double the size of the park or something, if we could do something else and run a road out, I just think that would be good for everybody.
Well, it would. I'm just trying to think, if you would have buildings in there and have a catastrophe, a fire or something, and that would be blocked and people are back there, they've got really no way to get out if
Right.
there's not a second means of egress.
Right, and we don't want to go out on the highway end. I mean, in part of this purchase, we're going to pick up, some residential property, but we're going to leave it residential. We don't want to run out onto N. Candlewick's a very nice street. We're not trying to go that direction. We're not trying to, we have the City of Pacific concerns in our mind, and I think we've got it right for the amount of property we're purchasing now. And then, like I said, you just don't know where this all will lead you or take you. If we can get, another shot at it, we're going to try to do something.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bates?
Madam Chair, thank you. I wanted to follow up with, we mentioned in the staff report, stormwater protection plan. But this 8 acres is pretty much right in the middle of everything else. And, sir, you mentioned 85% allowable coverage. Well, that's an awful lot of stormwater to deal with.
It is, and we're going to, we are going to put in our own SWIP plan, stormwater, pollution prevention plan. And then, we're also going to be, engineering to, the City of Pacific's current, water quality standards or storm runoff standards. So it is, and whatever your current, standards are is what we're going to be meeting.
Okay. Well, the standards are it can't put off any more water than what it does currently in its natural state. So,
Without probably some detention or retention.
sure, retention, metering.
Right.
Absolutely.
So those will probably be incorporated into the design to some magnitude. And maybe there's going to be probably some on the 8 acre and there's probably going to be some on the 40 acre.
Sure, okay. Well, again, I as Chairman Bruns said in the previous issue that we discussed, I don't think it can be said often enough that, look, we've had problems with this in the past in different developments, and we want to make sure that the future does not hold more.
Well, our calculations are going to have to show exactly what you're asking for to probably get approval, I'm assuming, through the City of Pacific.
Right, and I'm sure there'll be a site plan that'll also come back before us that'll have to be voted on for approval and then go to the Board of Aldermen, all those things. But it bears getting it out front that, look, all of these things are considerations before you break ground, because once you put a building up, it's kind of hard to go back and go, oh, man, now what do I do with this water?
Well, just so you know how we've already addressed this, we've already met with the City of Pacific, and we've already discussed this with them in advance of this meeting. So, we're just not, coming in here and,
You've
pay
done
us
this
a new-
before.
I've done this before.
Okay.
And the only other thing is that, that 90-degree turn to get to your other 40 acres, I mean, we've got that on Denton Road, that 90-degree turn, and we're gonna be fixing that, aren't we?
Coming right up.
So I'm a little concerned about your 90-degree turn to get back to the rest of that.
Yeah.
And how you're gonna make that work, because you've only got that 50-foot easement there.
Well, the 50
You
foot
got
is just
50 foot
connecting
right
the two
away.
lots.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Not from, it's not the easement to,
Well, it's
Industrial
gonna
Drive.
get him, no, but it's gonna get him back to the rest of the industrial park, and if you got a truck wanting to come out and a truck wanting to go in, you know how it is on First Street at the 90-degree turns.
Well, if you've got 50 foot right of way, and we're probably, I don't know what your, if it's 28, 32 foot wide, and then with the appropriate radiuses, and we can throw the,
Okay,
radius templates down, truck maneuvering templates down, yeah, trucks can't do stupid things, but they're going to.
no.
But,
Yeah.
they
Yes,
do.
yes, they
but,
do. But those are just some things that we've seen in the past.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we're all covered on
Okay.
those, okay? I mean, we welcome the chance to have something like this. It's an improvement, but we also want to kind of protect our surrounding
Right.
areas and things of that sort, okay?
You want us to be good neighbors.
Right, okay, and we do appreciate that. Is there any other questions that we have for the applicant?
Madam Chair, I guess it's premature, but there is a preliminary thought of usage back there already? I mean, I imagine Mr. Bates said it'll come before us eventually, but I'm kind of curious what's going to happen back there now prior to, making the decision of changing a little bit. I don't know, I'm curious.
No, it's a good question. It's a fair question. What seems to be kind of in demand right now is like 3 to 5 acre lots. Owners, people in and near the city of Pacific that may have an HVAC service company, may have like we were saying, a plumbing supply company, maybe a nursery's even, back there or something like that. There's a lot of people that, a 3 to 5 acre, having their little business or headquarters here, now you live in Pacific, your business is in Pacific, that's what we're kind of looking to do, and the outside storage factor is very attractive to us. So I think it's going to be lot sizes in the 3 to 5, 6 acre size, and so, we're looking to bring the road down the 8 acre lot just to get it to the 40 acres. And then we're going to see how the 8 acres plays out. But I think that's how it's going to be laying out.
So kind of like a business incubator style, maybe 10,000 square foot building with 5 and 5 each side, businesses that aren't big enough to go 50,000 square feet, but
Well, I'm
want
not going to
start out
say
kinda
that.
deal?
I'm
I mean,
gonna-
not particular,
I'm not
but
going to
just an
tell you
example
that.
kind of deal, but.
Right, but, that is actually very attractive right now, 2, 3, 4 acre lots with a 10 to 20,000 square foot building on it is, very attractive right now. But I'm not going to tell you that, we wouldn't get a 5, 6 acre lot and there would be a 40 or 50,000 square foot building on it. So, but, I think it's a very attractive opportunity for the city of Pacific and, maybe even a chance to, take our stormwater that's bleeding off maybe and make sure we've got it designed correctly. It may improve some of the other situations that you got.
Yeah, and I'm not going to hold you to square footage. I'm in the real estate profession, so I've seen different footprints at different locations. That's why I just ran that scenario. And then I guess the other thing, you've already stated it, but I think is a positive aspect, and was a concern of mine was, and unfortunately I didn't catch this part when I was reading it on my phone, but having that natural barrier. I mean, the residential, the R1A to the north and the R1B to the west, I mean, those folks have property rights as well, and the concerns there, but the applicant and the owners, they have the right to do with their property as see fit. So, that buffer, I think, is definitely, or in my opinion, for me, is a definite importance to be maintained. I don't know how the site map will lay. I would lean on the side of 40 feet being better than 30 feet, but that's for the future to tell once you guys get to that point. But other than that, I just think that's important. If this gets approved, that buffer definitely needs to be maintained.
Okay. The only other thing would be the property that would be, I guess, to the east, where your 40 acres is, are you planning any kind of a fence or anything along that side?
Not at
with-
not at this time. I mean, you may get a parcel that does that, but I mean, it's going to be a light industrial park. Now, if somebody does have some outside storage, they may choose to fence their parcel. So you may get, a third of the users, half the users that may actually put a fence up around their piece of property, but we don't plan to put a fence up between the light commercial and the non-urban
Okay,
on
well,
the east side.
because I'm thinking that ground there is terraced. I've been out and looked at it, and it's terraced. And some of it's going to be terraced over there where you're at, and you're going to be building, so you're
Yeah.
going to kind of go with the contours of the ground, right?
Well, that's the easiest way to build.
Well,
So-
yeah, and I agree.
So, and we're not, we're actually working on some due diligence layouts right now, and, we should probably have something in the next 1 to 2
Okay,
weeks.
all right. Well, do we have any other questions for the applicant? If we have no other questions, I can let you sit down.
Okay.
And I appreciate your input. all
Okay,
right?
thank you.
Uh-huh. And at this time, I have 3 speaker cards. I have Gary Meadows, I have Anna Meadows, and I have Paul Alt. Who would like to go first? And give your name and your address.
Gary Meadows, we own the property at 2010 Highway N in Pacific.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me speak here today, I appreciate that. As Steve pointed out, we are the family that had the upper piece of what was historically non-urban, and we came before this board, I'm sorry, it was historically non-urban. A developer had it all converted to a residential, and then we came before this board to get it non-urban so we could have a barn with a couple of horses. And
Right.
this board was very gracious about that. But now here we are, and one of the things that I commented back then is one of the reasons we actually picked Pacific to build was because I viewed it as something of a destination. And I meant that sincerely, that whether it's 10, 15 years or time, I think over time, there's going to be many people moving out to these parts and putting up very nice residents like I think we have done. And I think doing what we're doing what the applicant is wanting, basically is sort of decimating that area to the south of Pacific with something that's basically going to put a roadblock against anything ever coming in down there other than business, other than warehouses. I work in Edwardsville, Illinois, and they have put up a bunch of commercial, residential, warehouse, logistic things. It's fine for what it is. They put it in the floodplains because they know the floodplains are not useful for much else. But it's still, if this land is useful for something other than commercial storage, things like that, it should be used for things that are going to actually make Pacific still look good, bring people to town that want to build a house here. I mean, there are several people have now built houses along where we have, and some folks just bought another piece of property and are going to put up a very nice house, and as I understand it, a barn, and so we're all very impacted by this. So when I was looking this up online, to try to figure out what the plan was, I read through the application, and I was amazed at how literally it provided no information. It said, basically, rezone property to M1 with outside storage with 85% lot coverage. I've heard all of this talk from the applicant about what it is they're going to do. It sure would be nice to actually see what they're going to do, because it's all theoretical. You rezone it, and then whatever happens, and the people who were surrounded by it have no choice but to live with it. And so if they're serious about this, then it would seem to me that at best, some sort of rough schematic about exactly what they plan to do. And as my daughter pointed out, there was talk about 30 or 40 feet of wooded area to the north and to the west. It's actually much, much greater than that as it sits there now. I actually have a picture on my phone that I took of Steve's, where he showed me one of his apps. And if you look at it, it's probably 200 or 300 feet out at its deepest point. I assume from the 30 to 40 foot discussion, they're talking about taking out chunks of that barrier and leaving some, tree fence. Which obviously, and during the winter, obviously, you can see right through everything, so basically you get to look out on a bunch of commercial buildings, whatever they're building out there, and I sure would be nice to know. And so it seems to me that before this council makes a decision about changing the zoning permanently, it ought to be examining what it is it's actually going to do out there, how it's going to affect the residences that have recently built and are building right along there. Because the barrier doesn't mean much if, frankly, it's only 20, 30 feet or 40 feet, whatever it is. I would also point out, and I think there was some comments made about accessing this area. I understand that we've had conversations with the city about what happens there along Highway N. And the folks and the trucks who find their way there, and there's literally no practical means to prevent the trucks from going down Highway N. All this is going to do is increase that problem. Because if you're looking at the volume of work they're talking about doing, multiple lots and multiple 10,000 square foot buildings, I can't imagine the volume of traffic in Edwardsville, where when I drive by those warehouses every time, there are literally dozens, if not hundreds, of trucks all the time. And I don't see how this is going to be any different, because all you're going to do is increase the problems. In terms of anybody that lives along Highway N, or in terms of they're along Candlewick, where they're deeply impacted by it. So, and lastly, the stormwater issue. And when we developed the lot that we developed, we've put a fair amount of money into trying to figure out how to deal with the water issues. We've been able to lick a good part of it, but there's still parts of it that are just, I don't know if we'll ever be able to lick it. And I cannot imagine that developing that land all behind us is not going to absolutely have a negative impact on that. Now, I know the city is putting in a better drainage system along the side of us, but I don't know that that'll account for the increased drainage caused by this extra use. It just, and if it does, there's no way to fix it. It's already, the genie's out of the bottle. And so we are very opposed to this project. I think that if Pacific wants to be a destination community, which I think it should be, to focus on commercial development essentially does hurt that side of Pacific, and is going to hurt the residents around it and basically make it something of a dead zone down there, other than what's already in existence. So we are absolutely opposed to it and would ask the board to reject the application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anna Meadows, do you want to get up and speak? Let's see. Anna, you don't want to speak? I will. Oh, okay. All right,
Okay.
Your name and your address?
Paul Alt, 1829 Denton. My property borders the property being discussed tonight. I would be the biggest opponent of the whole development project, as the land has been in the Alt family since 1900. I understand, however, generations pass and property gets divided, and we personally do not own this land anymore, so our hands are tied. But I would like to ask or mention a few things before a decision is made. The first thing, I would like a fence to be erected on the property to establish a border between my property to the east and the current property there, Barber's property, or that they're trying to buy. When Barra developed Westlake, they had no problem putting in a fence along the property. And also Tom White, who has a factory that borders property back there, also installed a fence recently when doing a building expansion and removed the natural tree line barrier. So there was no issue with either one of those. The second thing, the property will destruct the terraces that help and slow and redirect water flow, allowing the sediment not to be washed away during a hard rain. So it'll cut it straight in half. And I'm asking to make sure with the interruption of the land that no new water flows into the fields and washes away soil or creates any more damage. I know obviously water, and he said he was going to take care of that, but it's a On the meeting notes, it said it was 85, statistic, 85% of the land being sold could have buildings on it and have coverage. I mean, that's a huge area. That's 40 acres. And that is no longer to absorb the water during the hard rains. I know that there's problems on Highway N. I mean, we can beat this dead horse, where it floods and they got all the new houses up behind River Bend. And that came over across Highway N. I mean, and this, having all this coverage on there will be an issue. And I like to say, I'm not opposed, but I think it needs to be addressed to protect everybody else around. But the change is going to happen, and I'm just asking tonight that a thought-out plan is established before anything is rushed into. When I look around, the larger tracts of land in Pacific are becoming scarce, and let's make sure that the property that's left is being used wisely and not be negatively affect the landowners and businesses already established around the property.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Alt. Anna? Can you give your name and your address, please?
Hi, my name's Anna Meadows, and I currently live at 2010 Highway N. Now, a couple of concerns that I've had, my dad hit most of the big ones. But again, I'm really worried about the water issue that it has been occurring. I constantly, every time it rains, I have standing water in my property as it is. And I also have a creek that runs on two sides of my property, one between Craig, my neighbor, and then the property that is in question right now. And the creek does tend to overflow. It's an issue. And I know we're putting in some additional drainage and stuff, but I just don't see having someone come in and disturb what's already there is going to help. I just see it harming it even more. And the other problem that I have with this is that there are other areas in Pacific. I've looked at the zoning map in Pacific that provide the same type of land and usage that is being what is being put into place behind me, and I just don't understand why it needs to be there in general. There's a lot of other options. I know there's other warehouse facilities that are already being sold and bought at this time, so I'm just worried about the effects that it'll have on my property in the long run, so.
And we understand.
Yeah.
And you've heard the discussions of the water situation up here. So
Yes.
we are listening to that.
Mhm.
And we are listening to all of the comments. Tonight's meeting, though, is a rezoning, but these issues will have to be addressed. I think we can put some of this, when it goes to a Board of Aldermen, some of this can be in there, that these items need to be checked before it gets too far, okay?
I just would hate to see it go up, and then we're having to deal with stuff on the back end, because you can't change it, just like how my father had mentioned.
Sure.
Once it's there, it's there, so I just want to make sure everything is dealt correctly in the front end, rather than having to go back and fix things later on, so.
And we appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay?
Thank you for your guys' time.
Thank you. Okay. Did you spell a speaker card?
No, I wasn't going to talk, but I probably.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I will let you talk, give your name and address, but I'll need a speaker card before you leave.
Robert Van Allen, Continental Products.
Okay.
Midwest Drive, Pacific, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
That's what happens when it rains. That's actually after it rains.
This is on
Stop.
Industrial Drive, is it not?
Yes.
Yep.
But there's a bunch of pictures there that everybody here ought to take a look at.
Oh, we're gonna pass them around.
Okay. And that's all I have.
That's all you got to say?
If 1 ounce of water spills on the Industrial Drive, it'll put my building underwater. Water flows through my building in a heavy rain. And it's all from Candlewick on down. It's not from the farmland. So if you start to bring any of that water out into the Daily Industrial Park, the ditches and nothing will handle it. I'll fill out my card.
Okay, I appreciate.
Oh, by the way.
Yes.
I want to buy one of those lots.
Okay. Okay, yeah, did you fill out a speaker card?
No, I did not, but I will.
Okay, come up to the podium, give your name and your address, and then fill out a speaker card, and you can hand it to me after the meeting, okay?
Is it, oh, I thought the cards were there.
They're back there.
In the back, okay. My name is Joyce Ronholm. We live at 1698 Westlake Court in the villages of Westlake.
Okay.
Our home, which my husband and I built 16-plus years ago, is our retirement home. It's peaceful, it's quiet, and we back up to the land that's in question. We have a few feet between us and the back fence, and so my concern, and I think my husband's, is not only water runoff, but noise, light. I mean, are they going to put a sound? They talk about a fence, the fences along the highway that divide the subdivisions. Going to erect one of those? Because it's peaceful, it's quiet. You put industrial behind a big subdivision that size, and let me tell you, there have been a lot of nice homes built back there lately. We're going to lose value. I mean, totally lose value. I'm totally opposed.
Okay.
Okay?
I appreciate your comments.
I'll fill out the card.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, is there any other comments by any board members, or is there anybody that didn't fill out a speaker card that wants to speak?
Madam Chair, I have one comment I'd like to
Okay.
make. This is probably not going to be a terribly popular comment, but I'm going to go ahead and make it. Several of us that are here on this board were here when Westlake's got approved. And one member up here lives in Westlakes. Many of us were soundly criticized because we were told that we were hurting everybody else's property value by allowing Westlakes to go in. We were also, when Mr. Meadows came, I'd be surprised if my memory's failing me so much that I don't remember saying that, there's going to be further development around where your property's at. The map has outlined that as an area that is targeted for industrial development. We try to give consideration to everybody's concerns. We really do. This town probably does it more than any place around. But the demand of the public in this town is to grow also. And having the potential to having good industrial jobs in your town is a key aspect of growth. We have to try to balance all those things where we're not hurting anybody else. That's why we do all this, to try to make sure that what is going in is the highest and best use, so that it doesn't hurt the property values. It helps everyone's property value goes up. That is absolutely, while we're not financially promoting the town, we want everyone's property value to go up. That's how towns grow and thrive. So I just wanted to throw that out. Some of the things that we hear the same things over and over again. Oh, this will hurt our property value. This will do that. We had people at Hawthorne subdivision that told me, oh, we wish we'd have went ahead and let where Westlake's at now go ahead and be an industrial court. It would have been way less intrusive. Kind of hard to imagine right now, isn't it? So, please understand that we do take your concerns very seriously. We are very, very serious about trying to make this work for everybody. We also have to make it work against and be balanced by state law that says you can't keep someone from using their property. That's an important consideration in everything we do as well. So there's a lot of different considerations to be taken in. I know it's easy to come up and say, oh, I don't like it, I want it to stay the way it is. But folks, that's not reality. It's going to change. How it changes, and hopefully we can do it in a very controlled and useful fashion that helps everybody. That's our goal. But there's going to be changes in this area, and probably more sooner rather than later. So, thank you, Madam Chair. That's
Madam
my.
Chair.
Yes, Mr. Eversmeyer.
I just wanted to, as what Mike said, there's been no secret that this was going to be light industrial, probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when
Every bit of
Every
that.
bit of that.
Every bit of that.
when we dealt with the flag strip that went along Industrial Drive, because that had to be removed or whatever, bought out, and was the whole purpose that Barbara Alt wanted to put a light industrial onto those properties back there. And that was, I want to say 12, might have been 12 years ago.
Every bit of that.
You know, so, I mean, it's been known and, you know, that that's where it was going. So that was all I wanted to say.
That's all you want to, okay. That being said, that public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to new business. P and Z 2022-5, consideration for Lot 130 of Third Street, the conditional use permit. Gullet Contracting is the applicant.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve with the concerns that the board has brought up, the fence alongside, and basically all the other matters of record that we discussed during the public hearing.
The waiver for the square footage for the paving.
The waiver for the square footage for the paving. I also would lump this under the same phrase that we've been using for the second development, which was highest and best use on this lot. It's right across the street from Dean's Auto Detailing. I think this is the highest and best use for this piece of property. Can't build a house there, so.
Can I add to that? That if it's going to be an office, there has to be a restroom. I know it's on the books, but we need it in the record.
I think that it needs to conform to all.
Well, that'd be part of the
Well, I know, but
building permit.
What now?
oh, tell me.
Talk into this, please.
I just wanted it to be on record that. Can you all hear me?
Yep, but on,
Okay. I just want it brought into the record that if it's going to be an office, he is required, Mr. Gullett is required to put a restroom in there and whatever else needs to be. I just want that to be on record if there's any kind of an office. Any kind of an office.
Can we formally incorporate that in the motion, please?
I'll second.
can we, okay. So this has been incorporated into the motion, so we need to pull the vote on this.
Madam Chair, prior to the vote, would,
Yes.
just because there was the additional additions, can the motion
We-
in its amended version be restated, please?
Okay.
I can try.
How about a motion to include the fencing, the office requirements, meeting the city, city laws,
And the waiver for the paving.
waiver of the thing, and to match the staffing report.
Is everybody okay with that?
Ev-
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate
Okay,
the
so
help.
I have a motion by Mr. Bates. I have a second by Ms. Picado. Can we pull the vote on this, please?
Commissioner Flannery,
Aye.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Bates,
Yes.
Chairman Bruns,
No.
Commissioner Bricado,
Yes.
Commissioner Madrigal,
Yes,
Alderman Eversmeyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is approved 7-0, so this will go before the Board of Aldermen at their next meeting? Is that correct?
Yes, July 5th.
Okay. P and Z 2022-6, the Alt Place rezoning application, and Dan Conway was the applicant.
I make a motion that we accept the zoning to both the properties, one 8.002 and 40 acres, formerly known as the Alt Farm, I believe it was.
Alt Place.
Alt Place.
Place.
Sorry, thank you.
And do you want to add anything into that motion about any water?
Well, we can put it in there. They have to, but they're going to have to do this anyway. Any water runoff has to be,
That's all part of the site plan.
right, that's all the site plan.
And maybe we look at a fence between the non-urban and the industrial park?
But it has nothing to do with the zoning, right?
Well, if we don't say something about a fence,
You can make the recommendation.
we might recommend that
I recommend a fence on the east side, on the,
along the east property
on the
line.
east property line.
along with 40, put at least 40 feet rather than 30.
As far as the tree line,
Yes.
okay. We'll amend the tree line to be a minimum of 40 feet.
Madam Chair, Raphael, could you disagree just a fuzz?
Okay.
And it's so hard to try to predict the future there. I'd kind of like to see 50 foot on that natural barrier.
On
but
the
have
natural
it-
barrier?
But have it codified within the zoning change.
I got no
thi-
problem with that.
I
The
think
better,
that-
the more the better, as far as I'm
Well,
concerned.
How about-
Minimum of 50 feet.
Okay, okay, I was just getting ready to say, how about a minimum of 50 feet? Because some of that is going to be, is wider than that.
Correct.
Some of it, so
And
if,
some of the topography won't allow for him to develop anyway, so it is going to be big. I get that minimum is kind of what I was aiming for.
so are we all okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to impede the applicant, nor do I want the neighboring properties to be blighted as well.
And then make sure that we're going to add this to address any water issues that this could create for the adjoining property owners.
That'll be engineered in the site development
Okay.
process.
I want that on record, though, that we are going to look at that, because this has dropped through the cracks too many times as far as water runoff. Okay, so we have the motion by Ms. Picado.
Did you get all of that?
Would
I just want to make sure you got, well, I want to make sure you got the 50 feet and the water.
It's also recorded.
Thank
would you mind reading back the motion of which we all amended?
Okay,
till tomorrow.
so we have
I
a
gotta
motion by
watch
Ms.
recording.
Picado. Do we have we have a second by Mr. Mangal? Can we pull a vote on this, please?
Commissioner Flannery,
Why am I first every time?
you're just sitting in that side.
Aye.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Bates,
Yes.
Chairman Bruns,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Madrigal,
Yes.
Alderman Eversmeyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is approved 8-0, so this will go before the board. July the 5th? Is that correct, Steve?
Yes,
or Rick?
yes.
Yeah, okay. Steve or Steve, okay. Okay.
Madam Chair, can I get a different seat? I don't want to be first every time.
Well, I'll tell you.
I don't mind being first through the door most times.
Tell you what.
New guy.
Well, here,
It's
no,
okay,
no,
it's
no,
okay.
here's the way it normally would go. He's still relatively new to this.
It'd be like the
We'll
Alderman
have a
meeting.
discussion. Generally, if we start with you, the next vote would go to the person next to you and come on around. So we'll talk about it.
I've been doing it wrong the whole time.
You're fine.
I
Okay?
really was just,
It still works.
We always blame the staff.
It still works.
I was just more joking. It's okay. I don't mind being first through the door.
Okay. Okay. Better you than me. Okay. Okay, P and Z 22-7. Ken Knipe requests for a waiver of sidewalk requirement at 1403 West St. Louis Street, Pacific, Missouri.
Motion to approve request.
That was quick. Is there anybody that wants to have any discussion
Well, I'll
on
second
this?
that, and then that way we can go into discussion.
Well, I mean, I was by it. There is no sidewalks there. And
There's
it
no
is.
sidewalks.
It's a sidewalk to nowhere. I don't see any sidewalks going on that side. And he's building a home there. So at this point, we've got the motion, we've got a second.
Well, and in the waiver, if for some reason we did build sidewalks or down there, he can.
Yeah, he's
build-
not really
that property can be
relieved
Built for that later.
In the future, if
Could
the
be
way I
built
read
later.
that, in the future, if for some reason there would be sidewalks installed, he would still be responsible for that.
That's the way it is
Okay.
all over
Well, I think
town.
Not waived forever.
I would think the precedent's already been set when those 3 new homes were built on West St. Louis Street. They
But
weren't,
that
they
was on the
weren't,
south side of St. Louis
they
Street.
weren't required to build sidewalks either within the same neighborhood.
Well, that's true.
And there's
too.
nothing else in the
Yeah.
neighborhood
No,
either.
there's not. There really isn't.
There's not.
But if in the future, when we do any street improvements or anything like that.
I wouldn't want to tie the hands of our future.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so we have the motion, we have a second. Can we pull a vote on this?
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Bates,
Yes.
Chairman Bruns,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Madrigal,
Yes.
Alderman Eversmeyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Flannery.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so that was approved, so we'll send this to the Board of Aldermen as well at their next meeting, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
If-
was the applicant even here? Okay.
Right in front row.
Did you
what I said
have
he
any
was.
questions
Oh,
or
there he
anything? You basically got what you wanted, so, okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Okay.
While we're on that topic, if I could ask, this is something that's come before the board multiple times, And it seems like every time it's the same result. The waiver's granted. If there's no sidewalks, why don't we look into revising the ordinance? And we'd make that recommendation that we would proceed with looking at the ordinance and seeing if we can't make that change so it's a permanent change, that when sidewalks don't exist in a neighborhood such as this, that they would not be required.
Steve, we explored that at one time when I was on the board previously, and the city attorney at the time said that we couldn't make it, if it's an ordinance, they're gone.
Yeah.
And now we have the clause that, hey, if there ever is sidewalks installed on the street, that then you do have to put it in. That was, yeah, there was, absolutely, there was a
Yeah,
reason.
there was a
why we
reason
hadn't
for
done
that.
it. Now, we could certainly ask the city attorney again for an opinion, and if there's a means to do that, then I'd be all for it.
That would
So,
be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
If you've
Oh, yeah.
already had people doing new homes and you've required sidewalks on those things where there weren't previously sidewalks existing, and then you go back and make said change, you've hurt those individuals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
that's
So,
that's why we don't want to ever make it where it just goes away forever. We want to, okay, there's
has
nothing
to be
on either
specific.
side right now, but, and in some instances, in industrial property, we've asked people to put up a surety bond so that when it happened, they get it put in. So yeah, the ultimate goal is still to have sidewalks.
I'm not opposed to sidewalks, but I mean, one reason why I was so quick to make the motion is, again, the neighborhood doesn't have anything, it's confluent with it, but we've also, throughout the community, have seen people come in where there was not sidewalks, and because new development made to put sidewalks, it's not a blanket statement that's happened, but you see it here and there. So, I mean, when you do that, either we're trying to reach a long-term goal or we're hurting the individuals, and if we were to make a blanket ordinance, as Mr. Myers had said, I think then we end up hurting those people that actually listened to us and put the sidewalks in.
Exactly. Well,
When there
just-
wasn't sidewalks there to begin with.
Oh, just like those homes that were built there on St. Louis Street. Now, that he went from one street to the next street, so that made sense, okay? But once you get past that, but yeah, I'm in total agreement there with you.
Mr. Roth, would you have any other comments on that?
Oh, not really. I mean, it's been a discussion point in the past and how to best approach it. I don't have a firm recommendation at this point. We could ask the city attorney for a little bit more guidance. We have set a standard. We want sidewalks in new developments. And there's a procedure for that to be relieved. And I know might get a little bit old for these to come to you all repeatedly, but, at this point, I think that process generally works. If at some point we want to draft a new regulation that kind of addresses this and cleans it up, I think that's fine. I don't see it as a big priority myself.
Okay, thank you. Okay, old business. Any old business? Nope. Committee reports, Board of Aldermen.
Nothing at this time.
Nothing?
Nothing really,
Okay.
nothing that affects the board or anything.
Board of Adjustments? Nothing? City Administrator?
Nothing.
Nothing either, huh? Okay. At that point then, I'll entertain a motion for
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by motion by Mr. McMorro, second by Mr. Flannery. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.
He wants those for the city.
Okay, well, I'll